My name is David Marshall, and I'm going to take you through GST1 communication skills. The use of English and communication skills. Now, I'm going to take you through Module 1 of your course material. Module 1, Unit 1. Now, in Module 1, there are some things you need to know. For example, there are some things you need to understand. For example, in Unit 1, there are some things you need to understand. For example, your area of focus should be the objectives. Fulfilling the objectives in the sense that at the end of the unit you should be able to identify the right answers in exam based on those objectives. There are actually objectives of the unit 1. There are number 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 objectives. The first one is that at the end of unit 1, at the end of reading unit 1, you should be able to explain who a listener is. You should be able to explain who a listener is. Actually, unit 1 is all about listening enabling skills. That is the topic. Listening enabling skills. The aim of the unit is it's to help you gain knowledge on how you can listen effectively. To lectures, to communication, whatever information that is being passed. Whether you are in a seminar, whether you are in a lecture hall or in a meeting, you should be able to listen effectively. So unit 1 is all about listening enabling skills. Now, like I told you, there are objectives. Number 1 is that you should be able to state and explain who a listener is. Number 2 is that you should determine the reason for listening. Why must you listen? There are many reasons, why you must listen. It says determine. You should be able to determine the reason you must listen throughout the program. Number 3 is that you must be able to list. You must be able to mention some listening enabling skills. Yes, very important for exam. Then number 4 is that you should be able to apply the listening enabling skills. You should be able to apply the listening enabling skills. Yes. Let us move on to paragraph 1. Paragraph 1 talks about a listener. The definition of a listener is what you need to pick out from that paragraph 1. What is the definition of listener, of the definition of a listener? Who is a listener? Who is a listener? Who is a listener? A listener is anybody who is capable of listening to anything said, and possibly participate in what he listened to and what is demanded to be done. Yes, that is the definition of a listener. Remember the first objective of this unit 1 is that you should be able to state clearly who a listener is. So you have gotten the first one, who a listener is. Your definition of a listener. Because in exam they may ask you a question such as, dash is anybody who is capable of listening to anything said and possibly participate in what he listened to. You are expected to fill in the gap. it means you type in listener. Remember, your exam is actually is e-exam, computer based. So you have two type of question. You have objectives, which where you have options. Then you have subjective, which is filling the gap. Yes. So you should know how to approach your study for exam. You should know how to approach it. So you've known the definition of a listener. That is the first key point you need to pick out from that unit 1. The definition of a listener. Yes. A listener is anybody who is capable of listening to anything said and possibly participates in what he listened to and what is demanded to be done. It is possible for you to be deaf and be doing this course. Even if you are deaf, you will listen to sign language. If somebody is deaf, the person will listen through sign language. It's important for you to note that key points, because your last exam they brought something like that. It has to do with somebody who is deaf. How will the person be able to listen? Then there were options. Is it true? Whatever it is, and then there was sign language there. So if you ignore this point in your course material, it means you may not be able to identify the right answer when such question comes in exam. Yes. Now moving on. You need to know that you are also a listener. Remember, we are looking at paragraph 3.1, unit 1. Yes, we're still looking at who a listener is. It's important for you to understand, all about, listener. So that when they ask you a related question in exam, you'll be able to listen. You will be able to identify the right answer. That is why I'm still dwelling on this listener. I want to help you to pick out the key points that you need to know and also explain them. Now, I've actually explained the definition of a listener. I've pointed out the definition of a listener. Now, another thing you need to know is that you are also a listener. According to your course material unit 1, you are also a listener. You are a listener. Why are you a listener? That's another thing they may ask you in exam. Why are you a listener? And the answer is written in that your course material. But if you don't know how to approach your reading, the reading of this course, for exam, you may not be able to, identify the right answer or know, how to approach your study. So you are actually a listener. Why are you a listener? Why are you a listener? You are a listener because listening is a compulsory day-to-day activity of the program. Also, another question is that why must you listen? Why must you listen? You must listen because listening is a compulsory day-to-day activity. You see that? So there are two questions in that answer. Whichever one you see in exam, you should know that they have one answer.